computer or I'm traveling on the road. So from the brand's perspective, we really truly appreciate what our retailers do on a day in and day out basis, because you become the face of our brands as that forward facing to the consumers. So I'll give you a little brief history about Vibratex. It's who I'm formerly with, and we'll also transition into how that partnership with Hitachi has been developed. So Vibratex has been around for quite some time. My apologies, I'm getting a call. So Vibratex has been around since 1983, fully incorporated in 1984. It all started off with we are a family-owned business, so Harold and Susie started the business. They had 13 stores in the Bay Area that were adult-based. Um, Susie is Japanese, so she would travel to Japan to visit family. Harold, her husband, was an entrepreneur, really got started talking and seeing things in Japan that were not available in the US marketplace, which led to conversations traditionally in Japan. Business closes, you go have a beer, you go to the bar, and that's where we met some engineers. And we introduced the first dual stem into the US marketplace, and that was in 1984, and it was originally called the Beaver. Not because of where it was used, that's my inside little joke, but typically because it had a caricature to it. So the beaver was actually named Beaver because it had the beaver shaped tickler to it. So traditionally, sex in Japan at that time, think about late 70s, early 80s, was very taboo to openly discuss. So the way they got around it was to add characters to the items. So the beaver came about. Shortly thereafter, was the rabbit pearl. Rabbit pearl was introduced in 1984 as well, but made famous with Sex in the City in 1998. So the show featured our rabbit on there. It's what really started the rabbit craze within our industry. Now, if you obviously sell, you have hundreds of rabbits probably available to your customers. But we are the original Rabbit Pearl company. We are the original creators of that. Business was done a lot differently in days where you didn't need the legal aspect of trademarks or patents, which we now do nowadays. It was done on handshake, so we never trademarked the word rabbit or rabbit pearl. It's the reason why it's so used now as a category. So when someone's visiting your shop or visiting your online commerce and they're looking for a rabbit, they're looking for that dual stem unit versus the actual rabbit pearl ourselves. We have since discontinued our dual stem line collection. We were Japanese based and are Japanese based. And some of the technology that was coming out about 2016, 2017 was outpacing what we could do in Japan cost wise. So traditionally, Japan items are significantly more expensive to produce, higher quality in the materials that are being used, as well as the mortars. And we shifted our focus to the Magic Wand. When I started with the company now 16 years ago, there was one singular unit called the Hitachi Magic Wand HV250R. We joined partnerships with Hitachi in 1999. So Vibratex ourselves, even though we sell the product and you're going to see the name Vibratex on the products themselves, we don't actually manufacture it. That still remains under Hitachi's controls and their subsidiaries. So they do all the manufacturing. We just bring it into North America as an import agent. So we cover Canada, the US, and Mexico. And we recently launched in Australia about a year and a half ago as well. So they do all the manufacturing. We do just that onboarding for sales, and then we do all the marketing. The reason why you're going to see our name Vibratex on the packaging, on the instruction manuals, or on the actual labels of the units is because we are the FDA agent for it. So for all intended purposes, the Magic Wand is a Class 1 medical device as a massage apparatus with the FDA. So if there's any issues that arise that require a traditional recall notice, Vibratex is the one that leads that. So that's the reason why you'll see it. It's not because we manufacture, it's just because we are the actual point of contact for any issues that arise with the actual unit themselves. So I'll start off with the Magic Wand Original. And if you have any questions, feel free to unmic yourself and feel free to ask. I'll try to answer as much as I can through my presentation. So this is the Magic Wand Original. This is what was once referred to as the Hitachi Magic Wand HV250R. I'll talk about why that no longer has the word Hitachi on there. In 2012, they became concerned about their brand image. They're also a corporate Japanese-based company. Their product base is going to be more electronics, power tools, large construction equipment. This was a very small segment of their product. When they would Google Hitachi Magic Wand, the first few links that were coming up were directing those searches to Pornhub or Twitter or feeds that were more in our sexual wellness space to it. So being that Hitachi is very corporate, they were concerned about our sexual wellness space. So what we did is we reached out to them, ownership here. So Shay is Susie's daughter. She is now the one who runs the company. Her and her husband Dan flew out to Japan, met with Hitachi, and said, "We can make Magic Wand be your self-standing brand." Right? It's been in the industry long enough. It's been around since 1968. I challenge you to visit your local retailers or your own shops or your own e-commerce platforms and try to find a product that's been around longer than that. Right? This has got a long time history on it to it. So we made Magic Wand be its self-standing brand using the registered trademark of the item. It's the reason why we took Hitachi off of it. Thought there was going to be quite the uproar, and that's just because the way the brand used to be. Right? Hitachi was big, bold red letters, where Magic Wand, the name of the product, was down at the bottom of the corner, so people thought Hitachi was an actual name of the device. It's also started a category, right? So Hitachi, people will grab a wand and think automatically it's going to be a Hitachi device, even if it's a different color from our traditional white blue. But this is the Hitachi item here. So I'm sure at some point in our youth, we walked around our house, found it in our mother's closets and our grandmother's closets, picked it up, thought it was a microphone, gave that amazing concert to anybody who didn't want to listen to it, but we gave it to it anyway, right? Because we knew no better. For all the purposes, again, this is a body massager. It's one of the strengths to the Magic Wand, right? Two speeds for the original unit. You have 5,000 to 6,000 RPMs, right? That's it. There is no low, there is no high. It's literally called the what the fuck just happened speed and the oh my god speed, right? 5,000 RPMs, close to the mic, really deep, powerful. As we go into the 6,000, really intense vibration to it. What makes this be so successful is the fact that this was never intended to be a vibrator, right? This was a true working appliance, it's a true working massager. If we think about where we're using this in our muscle groups, right? Those big giant muscle groups, our legs, our quads, our backs, our shoulders, those muscles require a lot of vibration to break down the lactic acid, bring a lot of blood flow, and aid in the recovery to either soothe those muscles or to alleviate some of that soreness, right? What it does for the erogenous zones, same thing, right? Really deep penetrating vibrations, a lot of blood flow. It's going to create a lot of self lubrication, and it's going to provide some of the strongest orgasms people can achieve with it, right? That's what really sets it apart. Now, if we think about vibration as sound waves, if you ever listen to EDM or techno, we all know that right before that bass drops. Think of those as sound waves. Think about those vibration patterns, high, fast, not really penetrating. Now think about us sitting at a stoplight. The car behind you is bumping some bass. Your rear view mirrors moving. You can feel it in your chest, right? Right, your console. You can really feel that bass. Those are the really deep oscillating vibrations that the Magic Wand offers, right? Those are really going to penetrate the muscles. Those are really going to penetrate into that erogenous zones and deliver some of those really strong orgasms to it. So that's the Magic Wand Original. One thing to note, the Magic Wand Original is specifically designed for North America. So Canada, the US, and Mexico. It is a 60 hertz device. What it means, 60 hertz. Other countries are using 50. Even if they were to use it overseas with a power converter or power inverter, it actually doesn't shift the hertz itself and potentially could cause failure to it. So if you know someone who's going to be traveling overseas, this is probably the unit that I don't recommend they travel with them. I do have some additional options that are more travel friendly than the actual original unit itself. It's going to have a 6-foot cord. There are the believers that say it needs to be corded in order to have the maximum power. That is true, consistent, but also have another base system with the rechargeable that actually prove that to be not necessarily wrong, but different. Any questions so far in the original unit? Great. If you have any questions, again, feel free to unmute yourself and we can talk about those or answer those questions that you may have or any oddities that ever come about Magic Wand interest and you just want to know something weird about it. Or if you have any questions about my office, I also accept those as well. Yes, those are all real. One thing to note as well, this has a vinyl head cover to it. Vinyl is the traditional material that they wanted to use for. We're going to keep the original in its final format. This little crown mold, I get quite a bit asked, why is that there? To be honest with you, I have no idea. The engineers that created that in 1968 are no longer with us. So I can't go to that direct source and be like, why didn't you add that to it? But there's quite a benefit to it. The way it will, if the lube is being used, it can actually sit into that crevice and stay in position a little longer, as opposed to just being fully expelled from its use to it. Just wanted to note that as a little side note. In 2015, after many, many asks from consumers and our retailers, Magic Wand Rechargeable was born. One of the important things we told Hitachi was if you can't make it as strong as the original, don't bother bringing it out. It's not going to do well. People are going to think it's a fraud. There was a lot of wands entering that marketplace at the time that wanted to compete against the original unit. So we really wanted to hold that legacy that the Magic Wand's known for, right? That really high quality product that Hitachi's always produced. We think they did an exceptional job. And what they did is they moved to a silicone head for that body safe conscious material, push button controls versus the traditional toggle system, and a power adapter that's compatible with the 100-240 circuitry. So now this becomes a travel friendly unit. If they're traveling to a different country, they can plug it in using the right adapter of the country of travel, and then it will operate just as it would here in the States. Um, this is also a plug and play feature. So the Magic Wand rechargeable, if it's low or dead on battery, you can plug it in and use it as that quarter unit to it. We went to 4 speeds. The reason why we go with limited speeds is we really want those consumers to really feel that intensity when you move up. If I have 24 speeds and my speed setting number 16 through 22 feel exactly the same, I'm not selling you anything, right? It's just I'm selling you numbers versus the actual intensity. We really want those intensities to be felt. So we do 4. The lower setting is going to be the rumble of 2,700 RPMs, really deep rumble to it as you move up. 3,800 on the speed setting number 2. Speed setting number 3, or the high, is called 5,400 RPMs, and then the ultra speed is 6,300 RPMs. So data-wise, it's actually stronger than the original unit in a cordless format. So if you're ever stuck in traffic and you get that little road rage tension, you could just take it with you and just rub out that tension. Don't worry about the traffic. It's gonna go eventually, right? So 4 intensities with this, and then we added 4 additional vibration patterns as well, right? So now you have the ability to go from just your standard vibration to some additional fun patterns that people may be in desired for. Any questions so far on the original or rechargeable? No? Okay. In 2019, no question. In 2019, when the Magic Wand original turned 50 years old, we were in between campaigns. So we really wanted to highlight the legacy of a 50-year status to it and introduce the Magic Wand Plus. The Magic Wand Plus was our original thought was going to be to be the new original unit, right? This was supposed to be replaced. I got literally death threats when we mentioned that to a few people. This has such a huge cult following. This is here to stay. This is our legacy item. This is where it all started, and it has allowed us to venture off into different models to it. But the Plus is the best way I can describe it. Is think about it up as your updated version of the corded unit, right? So we took legendary aspects of the original unit, so it's got to be corded to work, even though it does have the detachable cord to it. That's just for storage. The Plus is a corded unit. So for those that really believe and want that corded unit, the Plus is an option for them as well. We did the intuitive controls, right? So you're gonna have your up and down intensity just like you do with the original unit. We will toggle up and high. So you're gonna have the push button controls, and you're gonna be able to increase those intensities and decrease those intensities just as you would with that. So we eliminated the vibration patterns and kind of kept that more of its simplistic style that the original has. It moved to a silicone head and the push button controls and the power adapter that's also compatible with the 100-240 circuitry. For anybody who's going overseas, it's a great option because they can pack it with them, and there's no concern about not being able to use it, right? As long as they have the right adapter for the country of travel. One of the comments that I heard the rechargeable was if someone wants to climax as speed setting number 2 on the rechargeable unit, the way the speed settings are, you have to increase those intensities, right? You got to go up to 3 to 4 before it lowers back down, right? For someone who wanted to retain that contact during that orgasm, prolong it, or even someone who's a multi-orgasm achiever, during our climax period, we're most sensitive, right? So if we go too high in intensity, it's going to become a little bothersome and we're detached from ourselves, right? With the Plus, if climax has been speed setting number 3, you can reduce that intensity 2, reduce it back down to 1, and then you can still always have and maintain that contact, but prolong that orgasm, or you can actually go ahead and move into a multi-orgasm achiever if you're one of those few individuals that can do so. This is also a great one for anybody who is into edge play, right? Edging your partner, right? You can increase the intensity, you can lower that intensity. Offers a lot of flexibility there to it, right? So you can increase it, decrease it, remove the unit from contact. So it makes it a lot of fun, right? Think about the Magic Wand not only as your body massager, as your karaoke machine, microphone, but think about how versatile it is, right? It's for anybody who's got the soreness in the muscles. It's also for someone who's got screaming kids. They're going to lock themselves in the bedroom for a few minutes, have a change of attitude, come back out, deal with the kids, make the mac and cheese that they were screaming about. We also have a very large fetish community base, right? So anybody who's really involved in the fetish community with restraint play, with edge play, group parties, it really fits that different niche, right? So we have a very wide color spectrum, even though we look very much just like a traditional microphone. Any questions on the Plus so far?
So on the head, one of them has like that crease and the other one doesn't. Is there a reason why?
So the original unit, I don't have the answer as to why the crease wasn't included in there to it.
Uh-huh.
Um, my guess and the reason why it's staying in the vinyl format is as a massager, it was meant to be used over clothing. So the vinyl head itself actually goes
It
over
helps the
clothing a lot.
penetration because you could feel it like
Yeah, so
deep in your bones.
it's a little more firmer. This is going to be just a little more firmer in the material itself, but also because if you're using it over clothing, the vinyl doesn't adhere. So
Got it.
if I use a silicone head over clothing, then it gets clumped up, right? Then it's attaching to whatever you're doing. You're going to have all lint all over it. It's going to be
That
just
makes sense.
correct. But as far as the ridge removal, it just we thought it was appropriate to just have a very smooth surface to it.
Hmm.
I'll talk about some tips or some suggestions, especially if you're on an e-commerce platform or if you're in brick and mortar and you have someone shopping in store. Some nice, easy unit per transaction items that complement the magic wand. So something to consider when we move on in the presentation in just here a moment. The magic wand is big. It's bulky, right? It's been that big, giant device that people have always kind of said it's big, it's hard to carry, it's hard to store, um, or it's just too big and intimidating in size. It can also be used as a battle weapon. If you want to research later on, there is a story, I think it happened in 2012, where there was a couple that were sleeping. Someone broke into someone's apartment. The gentleman woke up, realized what was happening, and reached for the closest thing that he had, and that was their magic wand of the nightstand. That individual who broke into the apartment was beat. There is crime scene photos. There's blood all over the bed, blood on the floor, blood on the magic wand, with evidence markers. So it can be used as a battle weapon as well, not just for soothing massages. So we actually found that couple, reached out to them and said, are you okay? How are things? We like to replace your unit, obviously, because you had a lot of biohazard from the blood. We want to make sure that you have a working functional unit. The gentleman did say that the magic wand still operated. It wasn't broken. So that just kind of speaks to the quality that the magic wand is. We do have a less than 1% failure rate per unit per SKU. So let's say if I sell 100,000 units, zero point 0.5 of that is typically a defect. And some of those are going to be not defects, just the way we operate. If there's a return, we'll accept those, but I have no way to characterize in our system a defect versus just a regular return. So it can be actually lower than that zero point 0.5. I challenge you with the products that you have to see what your return rates are on others. You'll find ours are quite low. And we have customers that reached out to us that they've had a failure with their unit, and they've had those units for 15, 20 years. So that just speaks to longevity to it. As I was mentioning, this is a much bigger item, right? This is 13 inches, over a pound and a half of fun. The Magic Wand Mini was a great introduction, right? Now you come in under 10 out or 10 inches. It's about 9.7 and 9.6 inches, 9.6 ounces in weight. So it's much lighter. It's much easier to manipulate. Someone who's traveling may find this is a lot easier and more suitable. If we're engaged with our partner with the Magic Wand, being that it's got the smaller head size, our body's going to be a lot closer to one another, right? This isn't just a singular use. Think about that multi-couple, multi-partner setting where they're using the magic wand in, activities. But this is a great way to introduce someone who's never experienced a magic wand, wants to use a magic wand, it feels that the full size are too powerful. A great unit to do. Also thinking about someone who's a little older in age, right? Someone who's maybe going through perimenopause or menopause stage of life, right? Vibration is key. Vibration brings a lot of blood flow. With that blood flow comes natural moisturization. So this is a great one to think about including in those discussions when you're having with potential customers for the menu as well. Anybody who's got wrist fatigue issues, carpal tunnel, just because it's much lighter in weight, it's going to be much easier to manipulate, much easier to hold. There is no issue trying to find what your what your put-ins are, right? There's a really tactile feel to it. You know where they're going to be. It's not going to be those kind of on the system where you're kind of fiddling around trying to find where it's off and on. You can really kind of feel those, especially if it's being used in the dark. Any questions on those so far? The Magic Wand Mini is not a plug-and-play model. This is strictly rechargeable. The reason for that is we wanted to keep it as compact as possible. Little did I know that we'd be introducing something later on. In conversation with Hitachi was, we'd like to offer a bullet category item. What they came back to us was this unit, right? They gave me this CAD drawing to it. I was like, there's no way they can make that happen. A few weeks later, we got the prototype, and here it is. Kind of happened by accident. But you can see the significant size to it. So this is the Magic Wand Micro. It comes in at a mighty 4.5 inches, 3.5 ounces in weight. Although it looks just like your traditional Magic Wand, for me, cross-merching it in a bullet category is where it shines, right? Because it is kind of more that niche product that we wanted to isolate with that Magic Wand category. We wanted more of that bullet setting. For me, I'll be selling it this way. If we are talking how we use a traditional bullet, right? We're holding it in place. We can handle it by ourselves. It's fine. If we're using a bullet with our partner, and if we're doing things right, we're moving around, things are getting slippery. We start holding the magic or the bullet against ourselves a little firmer and a little firmer and a little firmer to ensure that it stays in place. What happens then, right? The more firmer you push, the more pressure there is to it, and then we're distracted, right? Now you have something pushing against you. Now you're like, well, what time are the kids going to be home? What do I want for dinner? Do I want pizza? Do I want Italian? Do I want Mexican food? Who's going to turn down Mexican food, right? You know, with this unit, because it does have that very bulbous head and a lot of flexibility in the neck, as you can see, there's a lot of flexibility there to it. Even if you push firmly on it, it's still going to be very comfortable, right? You don't lose that distraction. You're in the moment, you stay in the moment, and you can stay with your moment and your partner. This has your two key buttons, so it's going to have your immediate on switch, and you're going to have three additional vibration patterns, your classic high, medium, low, and then four additional patterns. So you have a total of seven. It is a USB-C rechargeable unit, so it can be charged off a laptop, off your car, or your phone charger. It's always going to be that handy little item to it. So for me, that's really where it shines, is in that kind of category as your board. So if you want to list it on your website, or if you want to talk to your customers about it, that's really for me where it shines, even though it does look like your episode of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And it does look like that wand. It's going to be a much smaller, much more compact format too. Any questions so far? Okay. So all the units that I currently showed you are not waterproof, right? Those units are, for all intents and purposes, appliances. They all have little vents, even though you can't, they're hard to say. There's going to be some vents here that allow some airflow into it. Each Magic Wand, because it is appliance, and this is what sets us apart than other units, it does have a full working motor inside of this unit, right? So it's going to have true working componentry. It is going to have a fan in there that draws the air to help keep it cool. One of those factors is also the Magic Wand Plus rechargeable mini. They have a shut off switch of 20 minutes, right? Our recommended time of use is 20 minutes. They will shut off automatically. It's not a failure to the unit. Someone can go ahead and turn it right back on. That's to help protect the electronics, protect the motor from overheating, just to make sure that there's longevity to the product to it. For those specific reasons, it's not waterproof, right? It's not even splash proof. Clean is an easy topic. I typically suggest using the damp cloth with some mild soap or some toy cleaner. Just go ahead and rub that over the head of the unit, make sure that's nice and clean, and go ahead and wipe down the handle itself to it. So after 56 years, last year, we introduced the Magic Wand Waterproof. We're very original with our names. This unit, the model number for us, we reference it as the HV360. 360 is important, right? 360 represents a full circle. Hitachi is Japanese. The first Magic Wand came from Japan. It was manufactured in Japan. Vibratex has Japanese heritage, right? So 360 was an homage back to our roots, right? We're going back to Japan. So the Magic Wand Waterproof is manufactured at their facility in Japan. Again, being Japanese, those quality mortars are going to be increased. So they actually increased the size of the motor to it. What they found is actually going to run a lot cooler in a fully sealed unit if it was a bigger motor. They put a bigger battery inside of it as well. So if you thought the Magic Wand Rechargeable and Plus and Original were strong, This is by far my strongest magic wand that we have in the marketplace at the moment, right? So it's going to have your traditional 2700 on the low. As we work up, we go to 4200 on the second speed setting. Speed setting number three is 6000 RPMs, and the ultra speed is 7000 RPMs. It's a really deep, powerful vibration that's being felt. If you turn it on the ultra speed on the high and you hold it right, your hand right about there, you can actually feel the air being displaced from the vibration intensity. That's how strong it is, right? This is going to be an IPX7 rated unit. So it is fully submersible. So anybody who wants to go jump in a creek, in a puddle, in a stream, in a lake, in the bay, in the ocean, in a hot tub, in a tub, it's perfectly fine. It is going to be a fully submersible unit. So it offers you a lot of versatility now, right? So now you're not restricted to no water play. Now you can actually have and enjoy Magic Wand in a water setting. The reason why we also increase the intensity is not only for just a bigger mortar. If we're using it in a bathtub, water has a way of displacing some of the vibration. This should ensure that it stays at its strongest maximum felt power throughout its use to it. It is going to have a little silicone cap, which is removable. This exposes where you plug it in. If you look, prongs there are going to be exposed. This is fully sealed and fully welded, so there is no issue of water getting within the actual unit itself. And then it's going to be double cased. It's one of the reasons that way it makes it that fully IPX7 rated unit. So this is fully submersible again, meter of depth, and for over 30-minute rating for that. Any questions so far on the waterproof? Okay, I'll talk really quickly about some unit or some products that are in the marketplace that you can actually help include or add to suggestions if you have an e-commerce platform. You know how below people will say, you know, suggested with or compatible with. As I mentioned, those that have the fetish community, right? So think about adding rope, think about bondage tape, think about handcuffs, think about even something that's blindfold, right? Those small products can actually held up into those baskets and allow a higher unit per transaction sale, right? Blindfold's great, right? The magic wand is a body massager. Now let's think about us being blindfolded. Let's think about our body has different points of erogenous zones, right? So there's a lot of benefits to these products as well. If you notice, the head itself is a very smooth silicone. If you do stock something like the Tenga eggs, those could be inverted inside out, and then you have the added texture to it. Right now, you have the bumps and the ridges and the waves that those Tenga eggs have. Also great to sell to someone who's maybe going to a group party, right? Who's going to have multiple partners. They can attach that head to it, move on to the next partner, and put a new egg on, and then cleanliness is no longer a factor, right? They'll have a new attachment there that they can be used with a new partner as well. Those textures add a lot of stimulation, a lot of context, right? The clitoris has 10,000 nerve endings, but we always forget about the vaginal opening as well. There's a lot of sensitivity points to that. There's a lot of nerve endings. So if you add that additional texture to it, that's just going to amplify how much more sensation and pleasure someone can get with the use of the magic wand to it. One thing that I will show, and this will be a concept, we are making some revisions. We actually showed it in person at altitude, is an attachment. So if you're familiar with Magic Wand and if you're familiar with Vibratex, we actually have the original attachments for the units. They were called the G Spotter and the Wonder Wand. This is something that we're doing a little different. This we're actually calling the unattachment. The reason why, I'll talk about that in just a moment, but this is our kind of concept to it. It's going to be an open-ended unit with several points of contact, right? You're going to have your collar here that's going to secure the attachment to the actual head itself. There is going to be, when this is triggered, you're going to have that constant vibration as traditional attachments will. So you'll feel that vibration being transferred into the shaft for internal G-spot stimulation. But what we've done differently here is, if you notice, this isn't open-ended to it, right? So our attachment, it's not going to have something that goes over the head of the unit. This will not, traditional other attachments will help muffle that. This ensures that the users always have that clear contact and to have the maximum strength of the magic wand at their disposal, right? That's always going to have that direct contact, maximum stimulation without anything over the unit, without muffling it, right? Without muffling those intensities to it. The unattachment form comes from this part, where you'll be able to unattach the unit, lift it above the collar, and now you have the insertable, where it can be inserted inside for use, but it's not going to have the direct vibration. It's no longer going to vibrate as it would if when it was in the attached mode to it. Right? This allows for that full feeling without having that intensity of vibration inside during use, but you're still going to have that external stimulation for that vibration, right? Now, what's really unique about the magic wand, as I mentioned, because of those deep penetrating vibrations, even from the exterior of the body, that biofeed that's going to be happening is going to be really, really intense throughout this unit as well. It's not going to have the direct contact intense, but it's going to have still that vibration intensity is going to be transferred through the body, and vibration is going to be felt through here in a much different format to it, right? So allows a lot of flexibility to it. There's going to be users that want the fullness of an attachment without the vibration, where they feel maybe the vibration internally is too stimuli for some at certain parts of their life. So that's why the reason why we did that to it. It's also going to have this back end. If you look, there's a little bit of a hook to it. This allows for that much more isolated vibration to it, as opposed to having the full coverage. You can take that and kind of use a tip for arousal, and you can just be very isolated in the way that you do that. Or if in the multiple partner setting, you can actually have that kind of hook feel to it, right, as well. So there's a lot of benefit to Magic Wand unattachment. So we're looking to have that fully prepared and ready to show at AMNI. But this is kind of our concept to it. We think it's going to do really well. We've had some really positive feedback during testing. So we're making some small modifications to make it even better. But yeah, we're looking to bring this to market by late summer for sure. So that's going to be the unattachment. Any questions at all? No questions. Not even questions about the office.
There is one question, Eddie. The rechargeable, can it be used with or without the cord?
So the rechargeable unit is a plug and play model. So if it's low or dead on battery, they can plug it in and use it just as a corded unit. If now it's not going to charge at the time it's being used, and I'll demonstrate that. So if you look, you can see the light clearly indicating that it's in its charging mode. If I turn the unit on, you'll notice that it's now switched to green, so it's no longer charging. At the moment that the unit turns off, I'll show that it's just fully corded. Once it's off, it'll recognize that it's off, and then it'll start charging itself to it. So it really makes it really fun, right? Nothing's worse than going into the bedroom. You've had a long day, you want to unwind, reach for your toy, and it's dead, right? Now you got to wait for it to charge, or you got to find fresh batteries. This allows you that flexibility to go ahead and plug it in, and use it as a quarter unit. If anybody who's hesitant to move away from the original unit, right, because they want that dedicated power to it, this is a great addition to them, right? They can add that flexibility that you have the facility of it being completely rechargeable. If they need that power, they can always go ahead and plug it in as the unit. It's going to be a high quality lithium cell ion battery. Hitachi is partnered with Panasonic. Panasonic is one of the larger electronic companies as well, and they make obviously great batteries. So they're using the high quality battery for it as well. Any other questions? No? All right. So I appreciate your time. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, is you as retailers become our number one brand seller, right? You become our brand itself. You deal with the consumers on a day in and day out basis. So we appreciate that. So from everybody here on the backside of the Magic Wand, I know that you are fairly appreciated. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eddie.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week on Wednesdays at 1.
Thank you, Eddie.
Of course.